Welcome to the failsafe about belts. Why would you want a belt without metals? Let me explain with this animation. Long ago, pants and belts were able to coexist and fight gravity, and they had a peaceful life with no war. Then came the metal detectors. They separated the pants and belts, and they caused trouble. Then the pants found the holy relic, the cinturon sin metal, and they were able to pass through the metal detectors without harm. And everyone lived happily ever after. Does the belt buckle explode when I put my full body weight in it? Do the stitches handle what I can throw at it? That will be at the end of this video. The 3D printing was too easy. Designing the file, easy peasy. But that's where it became hard, trying to make the belt. Some key terms are bag webbing. It's a thicker material that I do like, and their most common sizes are 1 inch and 1.5 inches. A flat felled seam is used for joining two pieces of fabric, and another seam would be a French seam. There are many ways to buy fabric, and a fat quarter is the smallest way, and a half yard cut is slightly bigger. These are some fabrics that I picked up from Walmart, and they are different sizes. The 0.5 yard fabric is long enough where I can just cut off one strip that's 44 inches long and 5 inches wide, and the fat quarters, you have to seam them together. And at Walmart it was pretty easy to find interesting designs. And then it's easier to fold the fabric and make one straight cut than to try to make one long cut across the whole thing. Cutting the fabric is fairly simple with the pizza cutter looking thing that my mom gave me, as well with the ruler. Cuts pretty straight lines, you don't have to worry about it too much. This cutting board is really good, and it kind of looks like a graph, but let me tell you a secret. It is not a graph. You may have caught it in my earlier clip, but this red line shows where I was measuring from. And now in green, I'll show you where the actual zero is. And it's a little bit different than what I thought. This is why you measure twice and cut once. And I won't realize it until I'm almost finished with the belt, what my real problem was. And this is where I'll turn on the iron so that it's ready for the flat felled seam that I'm about to make with the joining of the two pieces to make it the right length. I'll have a playlist in the description that contains how to make a flat felled seam. The flat felled seam is a strong seam used for pants, and so I thought it'd have a good application in the belt, but it lays flat for the most part. After finishing the seam, you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to pin it or clip it to make the edges of the fabric even, and then you're going to sew down the sides. And I'm aiming for a 1.5 inch belt. You're going to want to make sure the design is on the inside because we're going to make everything inside out to finish the sewing. And what I learned from the lady that makes the canvas belt and the playlist in the description is that you're going to want to make a closed end so that way it's easy to push through. I tried pulling it through without closing the end, and it took significantly longer. We're talking about maybe 30 minutes, where doing this took about 4 minutes. With the D-ring belts, you want to make sure you're giving them enough room where it is easy enough to take off the belt. Because if they're too close, you're only going to be able to move them in a rotational axis and not back and forth. So I'm trying to put my full weight onto my belt using my very scientific test apparatus. I was able to get most of my weight on it before it started slipping, and when it slipped, it did bend just a little bit. I did use PETG as my material of choice, and I was able to bend it back with just a little bit of forcing it, and it's pretty much good as new at that point.